Alright, welcome back to Big Rooster's Auto Repairs. I'm your host and mechanic, Big Rooster. If you like this channel, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Subscription is free and nothing to download. Okay, we bought a 2001 Ford F-150 with a 4.6 in it, and it's a standard. It's got 365,551.9 miles. Okay, now when your Ford gets about this many miles on it, it's a nice looking truck, no dents, dings, or any of that crap, so that's why we bought it. Needs a few repairs, so we'll do that along the way. A lot of these YouTube videos, they don't tell you what a standard. They show you a V8, and they tell you the routing is the same for 4.6, and that it takes a ratchet to fit inside the nut. Well, that's not it. Trust me, I did it yesterday. I was going to shoot a video on it yesterday, and it just became one big pain in the ass. That's why my video didn't work out yesterday. I had a lot of complications with it, and it just was a real pain in the ass. So I worked on it till after dark, trying to figure out the belt thing according to the YouTube videos I was watching on it. And I'm a Chevrolet man, so this is my first real, maybe about my third Ford in my life. My wife had one, and I usually hired a mechanic except for the brakes. That's easy on a Ford. Anyway, I did a diagram. This one is standard. It's a 5-speed, so the diagram that they show you online, if you go on Pinterest, you can find it, but you got to be careful and make sure you have the exact pulley system that they show you on there, and that's what I did. It took me a little research to find the exact one. Anyway, I'm going to slide this diagram down in front so you can see it, and I'm going to explain the diagram. Okay, now, alright. Down on the bottom where it says CR is the crank, and you see that little line right there, the little circle with the belt going around it underneath, that's the tensioner. That's the pulley that goes to the back into the transmission deal, called standard. Your alternator up at the top, your idler pulley right there, and your fan right there where your water pump is, and then you have the air conditioner and the power steering pump in these areas, 2 other pulleys. Okay, now follow the diagram. You got to go around the crank, and you see how it goes. Turn this drawing around here. See how it goes underneath the crank and up around that pulley, and then down around the tensioner, and then up over top of the alternator belt, and it goes around the fan like that manner there. The other ones show you where it goes around the crank all the way. That's not it. The belt will be too damn short if you route it the wrong way. And when you pull on your tensioner, it will actually tighten your belt instead of loosen your belt. So it's important that your belt goes that way around that tensioner, and that way around the fan. And it goes around the crank and around the pulley. So you crank over to the pulley. Okay, now. Alright, with that being said, the belt was easy to take off. Putting it on was a whole different trick, okay? Make sure that you use a 15 millimeter, okay? It's a 15 millimeter. It goes on that particular tensioner nut to loosen the tension. Now, when you run the belt around the top, you let it go over top of the smooth idler pulley that's on the top. You let it go over top of it so that you have room to slide your belt in there comfortably, okay? Now, if you have the tool that you buy at AutoZone for changing serpentine belts, you're going to be able to pull it down real easy, okay? I didn't have one. I don't know what happened to it. We moved from the East Coast to here, and somewhere in the process it got lost. So I had to do it the Neanderthal way. And you got to have muscles to do that, to pull down on that joker. It's not easy. Okay? I put a pair of vice grips on top of a 4-way ratchet that was 4 different sizes. And I slid it in there and I pulled it with the vice grips. That made it easier to have leverage. Okay, so you got to be careful. Now, I didn't take the upper hose off all the way, but you should. So, with that being said, I'm going to go outside and show you what I did. And we're going to go through it real quick outside. It's a cold day today. It's about 32 degrees right now. So the belt was a bitch to put on this morning. However, I just smoked a bowl or two, got with the program, got my head right, came out here. Time or two, I had that belt figured out and on there that the video I was watching was wrong, and I followed my pattern, and I slid my belt underneath that idler pulley. The smooth side is a lot easier than trying to get it on the grooves. So make sure the last thing you do is pull that tensioner back and slide it underneath the idler pulley on the top. Alright, we're going to pause here and then go outside. Okay, now, as you see, I got my belt on. Hell fucking hallelujah. Alright, well, there's a tensioner right down in there. And this pulley up here, right here, I'm going to try and stick my hand in there and show it to you. This pulley right here is the last one you put on. It's a lot easier to slide it underneath that. Okay, now the only thing I did is I took my upper hose off and slid it back. You should probably take it off. You'll have more room right there to get your tensioner in there. I would probably just take it all the way off, because you can't take off these other lines, because then you got to fuck with your AC and all that shit, and that's a real bitch. Anyway, up top I took off that little plastic thing that's laying over here. It has some kind of plastic screws on it, so I'm going to go ahead and button this thing up, button this video up here. I didn't even take that off. See, there's plenty of room. You just have to take off this upper hose, and that way there your wrench, your long wrench or tool or whatever, will slide down in there easier. I didn't do it, and it was a bitch. Anyway, we're gonna close out this video for today, and we're gonna finish putting this back together. I'm going to take it for a ride. I already started it up and everything. It's so cold that I didn't have to worry about putting the upper hose on. It wasn't going to get hot enough just to try the belt out. But remember, check all your pulleys, spin them, shake them a little bit back and forth, especially a water pump. This is not the time to learn that you have a bad, this is the time to learn that you have a bad water pump, not after you put a new belt on. So check all your pulleys. AutoZone sells all the parts you need, the idler and you know, and the tensioner pulley and all that, and they're not too bad to change. I didn't have to change them on here. Everything was good. All the pulleys spun well. No weird noises, none of that crap. So if you got to change them, the tensioner is probably 3 bolts, pops right out, and this upper pulley is pretty easy to change out too, the idler. You just pop it off of there, 1 bolt. You got to put tension on it to hold it, and it's a different process. I've done them on Chevrolets, not on Fords, and they're not too bad to change. If you're halfway inclined to do this job, you just need the tensioner wrench, the belt, and a Phillips screwdriver, and that's it. That's the only tools you need. So just remember how your belt goes on. You may want to take a picture of it, take a diagram of it, draw a diagram of it or something. They are a little different. That's why I wanted to do the video with the standard, because the belt routing is slightly different. So anyway, until next time, I hope this video helps you and saves you some money on a mechanic or changing an easy belt on a Serpentine belt. And this is Big Rooster. Get real, America. I'm out.